Alright, so today for this video we're going to talk about the various ways that you can connect the NIRSport 2 FNIRS machines. So the NIRSport 2 machines specifically, they're really nice because they can be flexible in the ways that you want to connect them depending on your research question and experimental design. So we're going to talk about 3 different ways that you can use them today. And so the first way that we're going to talk about is how to combine 2 machines and 2 sets of fibers to collect data to have a more higher density cap. So our fibers that we ordered from NIRX are 8x8s, meaning each set of fibers has 8 detectors and 8 sources. So today we're going to talk about how we can plug in the fibers to each machine, then connect the machine so we can have a cap configuration that has 16 detectors and 16 sources. Which each of the ways that you can connect these NIRSport 2 devices, what you'll always need is an access point. So an access point or a router is the preferred way to connect your wireless NIRSport 2 devices to your data acquisition computer. So we have a link in our website where we got our access point from, but you could also use a hotspot, you could use Wi-Fi, whatever network that you're using in whatever establishment you're in, but the preferred and most reliable way to connect your NIRSport 2 devices wirelessly to your data acquisition computer is a access point. So this is our access point. So the first thing I'm going to do today is plug this in. So what we always do, we have already configured our NIRSport 2 machines to our access point, so it's always important that we plug in the router first, because otherwise the NIRSport 2 machines can actually broadcast their own network to your data acquisition computer. So all of the NIRSport 2 devices have a SSID name and a password. So the SSID is the name of the broadcasting network that it would cast onto your computer. And then the password is essentially the Wi-Fi password you'd use to connect it to it. So the first time you ever use a NIRSport 2 machine, you will have to put in this passcode and SSID when you're connecting it to the computer, and then you'll have to configure your access point to the router. But for today, we're going to focus now on connecting 2 devices so that they can have a higher density cap. Instead of just an 8x8 configuration, we're going to do a 16x16 configuration by connecting 2 sets of fibers with 2 machines. So materials that you'll need. The NIRX company, when you order your materials from them, your NIRSport 2 machine, your fibers, and your whole entire set, you should receive a cascading cable that looks like this. So the first thing that you'll need to do is turn your NIRSport 2 machines to the back. So it's the side that has the power button, and you're going to plug in one machine to extension A, and then you can plug in the other machine into extension A as well. So this is just going to allow the machines to talk to each other, so they will collect data simultaneously as if they were one unit. When we're ready for data collection, this is what the machines are going to look like. So I usually stack them up on top of each other so they take up less space. But then I want to direct our attention before I start connecting and getting started with data collection to the cap itself. So for this study, we were working with infants, and we wanted a cap configuration that had 16 sources and 15 detectors. So we do have one detector that we are not using. So the biggest thing when making a 16x16 cap and using 2 8x8 fibers, each fibers are labeled 1 through 8. So it is important that when you are putting your cap labels on, you label them 1 through 16, and you label which set of fibers you're going to use as the back 16 or the back 8, and which set of fibers you're going to use as the front 8. So what we did in our lab is I just labeled one set of fibers with an A, and then the other set of fibers with the B. So what this means is I'll just make sure I always plug in the A fibers to the same machine and the B fibers to the same machine. So we have the machines labeled A and B, and we also will always place them on the same labels on the cap. So B means the back 8 for sources and detectors 9 through 16, and then A means that they're going to be placed on the front 8 of sources detectors 1 through 8. So this is just very important for consistency for data collection. Otherwise, you can't really compare data if you continuously switch the cables around. So the next step is loading your configuration into Aurora and then starting data collection. So we will bring our attention to the computer. Okay, so now the first thing that we're going to do when we're about to connect both of our NIRSport 2 devices as they're connected with the cascading cable to have a 16x16 cap instead of a 8x8 fiber configuration. The first thing we need to do is upload our configuration to Aurora. This is what will let Aurora know where Optodes are placed on the head. So before we even connect our devices to the computer, we're going to make sure we have our configuration. So this is the screen that opens up as soon as Aurora, the software, is open. And I'm going to click on Go to Configurations, which is on the bottom left-hand side, the middle button. So my configuration is not on here currently. We're going to upload it for the first time. So in a previous video on your site, after you've created a configuration on your site, you have the option to either save it to your computer or you can upload it directly to Aurora. If you have uploaded it directly to Aurora, what you can do is click on the button New Configuration on the bottom left-hand side of the screen. And then you can choose the name of the configuration that you have uploaded to Aurora. If you need to import a configuration, so you saved it to your computer and you want it to be uploaded to Aurora, you would click Import Configuration and you would find the location of the near site file that you saved to your computer, and then it would upload to Aurora itself. So for today, we're going to use a configuration that has already been uploaded directly from near site to Aurora. So I'm going to click on New Configuration and I'm going to go through these options. So I'm going to click on a 16x16 configuration that I have made previously and uploaded to Aurora, and I'm going to name it Test for today. So now the new configuration name up here is the name that will pop up on the configurations display after I close this window. So something very important about uploading your configuration for a 16x16 configuration, if you have two 8x8 fibers, is you need to select the amount of devices that you have. So under the configuration name, there's a devices label, and there's going to be type 16x16 or type 8x8. It is possible with NIRX to buy one set of fibers that has 16 sources and 16 detectors. However, we only have two sets of fibers that have 8 sources and 8 detectors each. So we want to combine the two sets of fibers so Aurora reads them as one. So what I'm going to do is I need 2 devices to do this and 2 sets of fibers. So I'm going to go to type 8x8 since we have 8x8 fibers and select 2. Everything else here I am going to just leave as is. If I were using any short distance detector bundles, I would also put them in here. Short distance detectors are usually used with a different data acquisition software near Star, but we don't need to do this also because short distance detectors aren't usually used with children's caps. It's usually used with adult caps. So I'm going to name it Test 1. And so the name of the configuration, after you hit OK or save it, will pop up on the configuration display here. So it's going to be right here, and this is the configuration that you will select when we are ready for data collection. So the next step in this process now is to connect both of our machines, wirelessly to the computer, and then start data collection from there. So the first thing that I need to do is plug in my access point, which I did previously. So now I have to make sure my access point is connected with my computer. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to unplug my internet cable, my Ethernet cord. So my laptop doesn't automatically connect to the internet because I want it to connect to my access point. So the access point that we have in our lab, we named it Den Lab, the name after our lab. So since I've already plugged it in, it should automatically broadcast on my network and internet settings. So once it does, if it hasn't already connected, I'm going to click on connect. And now that my connection has been made with my access point, I am going to turn on my both NIRSport 2 devices. So it is very important that you do not turn on the NIRSport 2 devices before you connect to your access point. Otherwise, their network will broadcast on your internet settings, and then it will become more difficult to reconnect to your access point. So that the order that you do things is important in this case. I'm going to hold down the power button for both machines until they turn green. And I'm going to go back to that default window on Aurora. And to do that, I'm going to look at the toolbar at the top of the screen. And I'm going to click the second to last icon, so the horizontal rectangle. And that will take me back to this page that opened up when I initially opened up the application. So because these are already configured to my access point and my access point is connected to my data acquisition computer, they should automatically pop up. If you're not seeing them broadcast on devices on this window, I am going to click refresh list, and I just keep clicking that until the devices will pop up. So as you can see, now we have both devices have popped up. And since these are going to be collecting data as if they were one machine, we're only going to choose one device here to connect to. So another, again with consistency, always choose the same device for data collection. This will just make sure that things are standardized and you don't, if you have one participant, you choose this one. So we differentiate by the last two numbers, so 85 and 86. It's important that if you start doing data collection with 85, stay consistent for every participant. So we usually do 85, so I'm going to click on that one. And once I select that one, I'm going to click select device, which is in the bottom right-hand corner. And now at this point, we are able to plug in our fibers. So you will still plug in only one source plug and one detector plug in each device, but they'll still collect data simultaneously. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select test 1, the configuration that we just uploaded, and I'm going to click select. And now we are ready for signal optimization. So there's a video about this on our website. If you want to run signal optimization and you have any questions about fixing any of the signals, if they are not all green, we have a video of how you can circumvent those issues either with hair or the optodes not making contact with the scalp. You can change the tension of your spring toppers. So now it's time for me to plug this in, and I'm going to skip towards data collection and skip over the data optimization process. If you want to learn more about this, feel free to check out the video.